Okay, well, I'm Madonna Scaff-Corin. I guess, I used to work as a research technologist. Now I write full time. Early in life, science fiction was all I ever read and wrote. And then several years ago, I kind of migrated over to writing mysteries. And I've published several in both science fiction and mystery. A few years ago, my premiere book was, thanks to Renaissance Press, was the first in the I Investigate series about a marathon runner disabled by MS who turned sleuth to investigate crimes. And there are now 2 books in that series. But with this book, Shifting Trust, I've returned to my roots. So I've also, just to be consistent, I'm bringing murder and mayhem to the world of science fiction. And for those of you that are fans of my Naya series, don't worry, she's not gone. I'm working on a 3rd book. So I'll be reading the opening scene, or parts of the opening scene. Matt peered at Hyde Park through barely visible rivulets of rain on the window pane. He could just barely make out the garbage trucks loading up recycler bins from Sunday's art festival. Then they silently lifted off and disappeared into the low, dark clouds. He had arrived in London early so he'd be able to play tourist before the conference started. No rain was going to stop him. So yesterday, umbrella in hand, he joined the countless people strolling through Hyde Park to check out the artists and their plastic-clad displays. Eventually, he'd taken pity on his soaked and shivering bodyguard to return to the hotel empty-handed. His bodyguard somehow forgot to pack a weather-sensitive suit, but he'd also refused to carry an umbrella, insisting that he had to keep his hands free. He'd even refused to share Matt's umbrella because that would hinder his view. Seriously, the guy needed to relax. A thud from the next room startled him. He reached the adjoining door just as a loud knocking threatened to rip it off its hinges. He opened the door to find a disheveled giant of a man eclipsing the doorway. Cahill, his bodyguard. Rumpled blazer, partly unbuttoned shirt, and only one shoe suggested he'd slept in his clothes. Matt felt a twinge of guilt at staying out so late touring London's nightclub scene. Cahill shook a finger at him as though scolding a child. "You didn't wake me." "I thought you could use the rest," Matt said. "You were planning to sneak out again, weren't you?" "It's just breakfast here in the hotel." "I can't protect you." Cahill paused to take a deep breath. "If you keep sneaking out." "You're taking this bodyguard thing way too seriously," Matt said with a laugh. Cahill's glare intensified. Wisely, Matt became serious. "I already apologized for yesterday afternoon. You said you were going to have a nap. Next thing I know, you're in the bar downstairs meeting with a man who is a security risk. A man, I might remind you, who insisted you meet him before the conference even started." "It was just an informal get-together with some of the delegates at this hotel. Nothing sinister. Let's not get paranoid." Matt laughed as Cahill scowled. The guy had no sense of humor. "Look, this is a high-tech conference. You know, exchanges of information and all that. I can't learn much if I stay in my room. Besides, I stuck to the cover story." "That doesn't matter. You're not going anywhere without protection." Cahill crossed his arms and moved to block the door to the hall. Matt nodded at Cahill's clothes, saying, "That's not exactly what I'd call proper dress code." "Shit," Cahill said, looking down at his untidy clothes. He held up a warning finger. "Wait for me. I mean it." He stomped back to his room, slamming the door behind him. Matt felt a bit of regret for giving him such a hard time. He never wanted a bodyguard, but the Canadian government had insisted. At one point, they'd suggested he have a private hover car fly him to the conference. At least he was able to put a stop to that. Of course, had Drake come as he was supposed to, he'd probably have insisted a car take him everywhere, even to the bathroom if he could have managed. Stupid bastard. That reminded him to try the phone number again. Using the hotel comm system's incognito mode, he keyed in the number and listened to the endless hollow rings. How could someone not have voicemail these days? He hit end with a grunt. He had to finish getting dressed. Last night, the other delegates invited him to join them for dinner. The excitement of attending his first elite tech conference overcame his jet lag. He had enjoyed himself despite seeing Cahill at a nearby table, scowling as he sipped a Coke. Eventually, the idle chit-chat turned to shop talk, as Matt knew it would. Agonizingly, he'd managed to maintain the research cover story. And despite few details from him, the others were very open about their work. This morning, using his own wrist phone, he'd fired off a quick message to his research director back in Ottawa. He knew Laura would be intrigued by the snippets of information he'd sent and would be on the next flight to England. He heard a knock on the door and a muffled voice in the hall. Cahill letting him know he was waiting. "I'll be right out," he called. Matt scooped up his wallet and room card from the night table and dumped them into the inside pocket of his jacket. Slinging it over his arm, he opened the door, expecting to see Cahill in his usual loitering stance. No one. He knocked on the guard's door, calling, "I'm late for breakfast, so I'll just meet you downstairs." Silence. "Okay?" Cahill would be mad, but this time he had tried to cooperate. At the elevator, he nodded morning to a man dressed in a dark charcoal suit. The man just put his gloved hands in his trousers pocket and turned away to face the elevator. Matt ignored the rudeness, refusing to let it ruin the day for him. The elevator door opened, and Matt hesitated when he saw a man dressed in dirty coveralls holding a key in the control panel. "I guess this elevator's not working," Matt said, and turned towards the staircase. He barely made it a step when the suited man shoved Matt into the elevator, slammed him face first into the wall. Pain, his eyes burned, tears flowed. His nose felt broken. He dropped his jacket, reached for his face. Someone yanked his arm behind his back. They pinned him against the wall. Jagged fingernails scraped the phone off his wrist. A sharp stab in his neck. Too late to pull away. Vertigo slapped at him. "Cahill, help!" He barely heard his own strangled whisper. No chance anyone else could. He sucked in a deep breath to cry out again when a large hand clamped over his face, crushing his already throbbing nose. He gagged at the stench of mechanics grease mingling with anesthetic. The salty tears mingled with the taste of blood in his mouth. Numbness spread through his body. Anesthetized legs failed him. Thank you.